Welcome back, everybody, to the Rec Room with Bryan Rector. And today is episode 37 of the thing. It's been crazy to me that, folks, we've been able to do one show per week since January 26th. And we're just continuing to be on this move of like cutting out stories, carving out paths, telling great moments of sports and entertainment. I've loved it. And that train does not stop this week, let me tell you right now. We got a great one on hand. It's Brooke Biermann, who was just with the Michigan State women's golf team for 4 years, finished up, now, a lot like me, can call herself an alumni. The difference is she's an alumni of Michigan State women's golf. 2025 U.S. Women's Open contestant, achieved All-American honors at Michigan State, had a whirlwind the last couple weeks, the last couple months at Michigan State with taking exams, flying around the country, playing high-level golf, being in places and in moments that she had never been. So, Brooke Biermann, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Great. Thanks for having me. Yeah, thank
Absolutely.
you.
Absolutely. And it's good to see you. I know there's been a lot of moments as of late where you haven't been seen by everybody, because you're on this move of flying around and, traveling, playing in tournaments, preparing, being a golfing extraordinaire. What has the process been like of being in all these different places and just continuing to make it happen, where you're qualifying for things and growing into these bigger moments?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a crazy whirlwind is, I guess, the correct word to use, but just trying to my parents keep reminding me to stay focused on this the current day you're in and not worry about the next week or the next couple days. So just trying to stay grounded, I guess, and yeah, the last like 2 months has been crazy. I've been all over the country competing and playing all over the place. But um, yeah, so just trying to live in the moment and enjoy each moment I can because I feel very blessed that every these last 2 months the opportunities that have been presented have been amazing. So just trying to remind myself of how cool the current moment is rather than worrying about packing and traveling to the next place and competing in the next spot. So,
For sure, for sure. And I know from watching from afar, from being in a couple classes together at Michigan State, which, by the way, was fantastic to be able to catch up each of the times that we had the opportunity to in class. I remember, folks, for y'all out there, there was one day where we were taking a test in Dr. Detmer's class, and I'm like, where's Brooke? Well, as it turns out, Brooke had flown home to Missouri to play in an Illinois tournament and qualified for the U.S. Women's Open on that weekend. And I was like, where did she go? Like, this is nuts. So she comes back, and nobody had known, right? And I'm like, Brooke, where did you go? And she's like, oh my gosh, I just won this tournament. And now I'm headed to the U.S. Women's Open. Like, for you, in over the course of your college time, what was it like to try and navigate that part where you're outside of class? Because I know you, I know that you're a determined student as well. I was able to see that. So, what was that kind of role in your life during college of missing class, trying to get things in order, and how did that look?
yeah. I mean, it was definitely a challenge because I was very focused on school and and the athletic side. So trying to juggle both can be very overwhelming. And freshman year, there was definitely times where I was like questioning, oh my gosh, can I do this? Can I keep up my GPA? Can I travel this much and be competitive and practice as much as I need to and study? And how can I find enough time in the day? But just once again, like, I feel like focusing on the current task at hand was really helpful for me. And um, I found a great major, HRLR at Michigan State. So they're very understanding, and all the professors were very supportive. So being able to be in that environment really helped me succeed in the classroom and on the course. But when I was a freshman, I didn't know what my major was, and so when I came upon that, and um, I realized that was the right spot for me. So, but I'd say that like being able to be on the women's golf team is a great opportunity and something that I love. But with that comes a lot of expectations, and just trying to figure out how can I, so because for the past 4 years, the Michigan State women's golf team has held the highest team GPA in all of the sports. And so, it is a competition for us to have the best GPA and then ultimately hopefully be one of the best teams on campus and in the country. So, you know, you that of course puts expectations on you. However, you got to figure out how to balance both.
Mm, absolutely, absolutely. And I think, when I hear you speak on that subject, right, of the inter-squad competition that was going down not only on the course, but in the classroom too. Like, talk to me a little bit more about the culture of the Michigan State women's golf team and how did it grow and change while you were there? Because I imagine you came in as a youngster, right? Like looking up to these women who were in that upper class, that captaincy role. And then, like, as you adjusted through the years, moving into that role yourself, what was that like with that team that is so driven and competitive?
Yeah, I mean, walking in as a freshman, I definitely felt like prepared in the golf side and the academic, but really like the whole lifestyle I had never experienced before. I went to normal high school. I went, you know, practiced after class, like nothing crazy. So being put into an environment where the stakes are higher and you're sort of play such an individual sport, and then to boom be put into a team where you have to understand how to communicate, and how do I work on my golf game individually while we're at a team practice. So like things like that were definitely challenging for me. But you know, I had my coach is amazing. So freshman year she was, very much guided me into sort of maybe a mindset I needed to have, and that was being focused on yourself while also trying to be the best um, teammate you can be. And then, through the years, we of course had upperclassmen that would lead and sort of lead by example, I'd say. And so I felt like by the time I was a junior and senior, like I had experienced a lot of, you know, other things or things that have happened and like how things were handled, and they were all usually handled like appropriately and with effective communication. I just try to carry my best to carry that over, and also try to, I guess I would say, like, I definitely don't know it all, but try to tell, like the freshmen and sophomores that are experiencing some of these things that I've also experienced, if I can tell them, hey, this is how I handled this, or I know this is nerve wracking, or I know finals, or you're nervous because you want to do well for yourself and the team, but like how to handle those emotions. I tried my best to communicate with them.
So I think all of this, which you speak on, it lends itself to a question is who for you, when you were just getting into the program, would you look up to and go to for that advice? Who was that for you very early on?
Yeah, I'd say that. the person that I looked up to the most was actually a girl named Layla. She was 1 year older than me, but it seemed like she was always very helpful and supportive, and I always found comfort in how she handled things and everything. So it's actually now she's our assistant coach, or the new assistant coach, not mine anymore. But um, so being able to see how she handled herself, and she also um, was a good player and everything. So being able to see how she went about her business and everything was um, awesome. And then when I saw that she got the assistant coaching job, I was like, that's a great fit because um, she's a great person and supporter, and she's also a good player and a Michigan State through and through. So,
Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think I love what you just said there. Like so many times when you look at hires that have been made at Michigan State, it's like they do better when they've been here, when they know the play, when they're all about what Michigan State stands for. So I think that's a
mhm,
really good point that you just mentioned and could be a huge thing going forward for the future.
mhm,
I gotta ask because so many times, Brooke, we, both of us, in different ways, are at a point of transition where we just got out of school and we're headed towards something else. Now, I don't want to give it away where you're headed because I think we can close with that. But what my point is like in order to know where you're going, you've got to know where you've been. So, with that, point in hand, let me ask you, how did you get into the game of golf at its origin? Like, why are you still here? Why does the thing appeal to you?
yeah. Well, okay, I got into golf because my mom and dad played very casually. Just would go out on the weekends and play, and they brought me and my younger sister out, and it sort of became like a family activity. And we would just go out on Fridays and Saturdays and play, and um, I really enjoyed it, but it was never that serious. We just have fun with it, and when I was younger, I played soccer and volleyball and softball and all these different sports. So it wasn't like I was destined to play golf. Maybe if you asked my dad, he'd say I was. But um, so I don't know. But actually, in middle school, I had I guess a jaw injury that prevented me from playing any contact sports. And so that's when I really was like, I've always grown up very competitive. And so I didn't want to stop competing. So that's when I sort of, I guess, you know, started playing more and more golf and just got more into it and started playing in more tournaments and everything. And I started to love it. And um, by the time my jaw healed up, I was like, I don't really need soccer anyway. I could play golf forever. And yeah, and I think throughout high school is when I really, really got more into it. Um, that not that I wasn't into it before, but I definitely saw like a lot of improvement, and I really enjoyed being out on the course and practicing by myself
Mm,
and just like focusing, which for like a 15-year-old, sometimes that's really hard to be by yourself out of, anywhere focusing on something. But I thoroughly enjoyed, you know, pushing myself to get better, and then that's when I feel like the dreams and aspirations of becoming a college athlete started, and I saw the opportunities that you know would come with being a an athlete. And um that's when I really started looking at colleges and competing at a higher level too.
hmm.
So
I love what you said because, and I think that's the thing that people have a hard time grasping in passing when they're hearing about it or thinking about it or trying to watch, is that when you're in the high school game, when you're in the college game, you're playing as a collective group and you're trying to be together as one. But the thing is, you also better be honing in your individual side. So for you, like as you were making this happen, as you were getting more into it, what were some of the hard questions that you were asking yourself about continuing to progress and like trying to, you know, I guess like be confident in that growth and like being willing to make those mistakes in the name of getting better? Like, were there any moments that were really hard for you to keep pressing on?
Oh, yes. Golf. I think golf is, you can relate it to life very, very easily. It's like, you're gonna get, a great bounce, or you're gonna hit a great shot and get a bad bounce and be like, wow, just like life, I did everything right. Why did I get that bad bounce? And then I feel like the bounces even out at the end of the day, and your opportunities and stuff will will come when they need to. And um to me, of course, I've experienced several moments where I've been like, oh my gosh, why am I playing this? It's so frustrating. I'm not seeing improvement. I'm sort of at a plateau. And, um, I will say, like, my parents are my number one supporters, and they always remind me about where I've come and how much I've grown, and how much, I guess, potential and that I have. And they've always had the mindset to keep your head down and keep working. And so I rely heavily on them, and they're always there to pump me back up. But of course, I mean, golf, just as in life, is going to bring you with moments where you question, oh my gosh, is this worth it? Is this what my purpose to do? Is it to play golf, or is it to go work somewhere else or do anything? I don't know. Or be a normal college student, or should I be playing? So of course, um, there's been moments. I mean, I think even back to last summer, I came off of my junior year at college, and I didn't obtain everything I wanted to necessarily. I had still had a looking back at it, I'm like, oh, I had a good year. As a competitor, you have to sometimes assess and say, I can do better than what I did. Being able to um, sort of come home, reset, and remind myself of who I am, and how much I know I can do and have done, was very, very helpful. And so um, that was a moment where I definitely wasn't thinking about quitting, but I also was like, oh gosh, is this is golf the life for me? I don't know. I can play
Mm,
for fun if I want. Why am I doing this to myself? So,
mhm.
yeah. But I mean, I don't know if you watched the men's US Open. Did you? Okay. Well, the man that won, JJ Swan, he had listening to his interviews were awesome, because I was like, at every level, some golfers, or I'm sure people in any sport they're playing, you have this exact same question of like, have I hit my limit? Is this, am I gonna, he was thinking about retiring. He's like, I've had a good career, not great career, but a good career. And, he sort of, people around him convinced him to keep playing, and there he goes, ends up winning the US Open. And just it just shows you that golf is crazy, so you just got to keep pushing.
Mhm. And I think that's such an interesting point because we talk about the concept of pushing through the hardship and the doubts and things of this nature. But on the reverse, it's like after the season and the moments that you've taken part in as of recent, I would be concerned, like, have you gotten any time to sit there and reflect and extrapolate kind of things that you've learned over the last few months? So, sitting here presently right now, have you been able to kind of look back on your college career and even more on a micro level, what just kind of happened? And what are your immediate thoughts about being a part of the last couple years, last couple months?
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. I feel like if you would have asked me this like a week and a half ago, I would have said no. I've been running around crazy. But I feel like the last week I've been able to come home, unpack, and like sort of digest like 4 years being a college athlete and what I've all the amazing memories I've made with my teammates and coaches and um, just sort of remind myself, okay, there's been so many great opportunities and not I wasn't able to go to walk at graduation and stuff, so I definitely miss things that would for sure be memories and moments, you know, forever because of golf. So I think it's key like you said to sit back and assess what has just happened because if you don't I think learn or even just like realize that oh my gosh, I just graduated college and I just finished up 4 years being an athlete at Michigan State. If you don't acknowledge that, I think that's when I think bad things will happen in the future if you don't learn from your current state. So,
Mm,
um, yeah, I feel like I've really like had a great week here back in St. Louis and just like unpacking all these little things, have great memories or yeah, so
absolutely. Absolutely. And what's been really cool about the way that we've gone about this is we've been able to kind of be in the different positions, right? And hear about where you've been at with each of these points of development. So now I feel like, dang it, it's unfortunate in some ways, but I do have to ask, what's coming next? What should we expect from Brooke Biermann in the next couple months?
yeah.
What are the steps you're gonna take?
Yeah, so I'm gonna be practicing and playing still. I'm gonna remain an amateur through the summer, which is what I've been doing. I just can't, remaining an amateur means that you just can't receive money. Um, when you start receiving money, you'll turn professional. But so I'm gonna play in the women's western back up in Michigan, which I'll be excited to get back up there. And then I'm also gonna play in a 18-hole qualifier for the U.S. Women's Amateur, and that is also in Michigan, which is sort of fun. But I'm gonna play in those two, and then I'm gonna honestly really relax and regroup and just refresh mentally and physically and get ready for Q school, which is at the end of the summer. And Q school is, I guess, qualifying school for the LPGA and Epson Tour for the to ultimately turn professional.
Most certainly. And I think, Brooke, like looking at the individual sport that we speak on, right? It's interesting because you can remain an amateur while you're able to play in momentous occasions like a Meyer LPGA Classic and like a US Women's Open. So I've got to ask for you, like, what is the comparison, just for all of us out there, mere mortals who can't think of stepping on a tee in a professional setting? What is the difference between playing at the highest levels of college, as you have, versus playing in something like a Meyer, versus playing in something like the US Open, which everybody holds on a pedestal of like this thing is untouchable. I mean, it's nothing, there's nothing else quite like that.
Yeah, I mean, being able to play in those professional events is has been amazing and eye-opening because college events are amazing and the level of play is great. I mean, there's so many amazing girls every single week when we play and um it is different though being on the pro level. I mean, everyone is playing for a paycheck, which is different. You know, if you have a bad week in college, it's fine. You go back with your team and everything's good. But it's a touch more, I guess, cutthroat out there and you're alone. You're not on your team anymore. sort of all up to you to figure it out. However, getting to play in the Mire and at the US Open, has been amazing. And it sort of gave me, I guess, a sneak peek into what life is like out there. And um, I do think that it gave me even more of a drive to want to do it and give myself an opportunity to do it because, it's such a small amount of people that ultimately make it. And to me, it's like I want to test myself and I want to see if I can make it. And I just feel like I've been doing it long enough, playing golf for so long that I would be selling myself short if I didn't give it myself a chance. So,
Most certainly. Most certainly. Well, Brooke, I want to tell you thank you for being a part of the show. It's been unbelievable to have you on and to catch up a little bit. Um, as we're moving forward, and I've got a couple more things. Don't think we're getting out of here just yet. As we're moving forward, like, is there anything that you are most looking forward to about trying to qualify and become a professional?
I'm most looking forward to probably being testing myself at the highest level. I feel like that college golf is, like I said, amazing competition. Pro golf is the ultimate test of golf. It's mentally and physically like every single week you have to be on your A game. So to me, I want to test myself at that level and I want to see, um, I love being competitive and I love being outside and working on my game and playing. So to be able to do that for my career is amazing, because I don't see myself sitting in an office and crunching numbers or doing anything like that. So that's what I'm looking for the opportunity to be making that my career. And um, that's like the ultimate goal.
Most certainly. Most certainly. And I think, what I'm curious about, Brooke, is like it feels as I look at scores and I look at highlights and things, I'm of the opinion of like, oh my gosh, can she get any better as a player? Which I know you're gonna be thinking, well, yes, actually, and here's how. What are the next steps for your game to progress to get to a level where it could be sustainable on something like a Pro Tour?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say being able, first off, like mentally, being able to handle every week on the road. And, that part I think might come with time out there, um, because college is so much travel as well. But you go to a tournament and you come back and you have a couple days to reset and then you leave again. Well, usually these pro events, you're continually staying in hotel rooms and on the road and staying with host families. So like mentally being able to handle that, I think is something that I can train myself a little at home and to do, but it's also like you learn the most when you're in it and so I think that first year will be a learning curve for sure. And then, to stay competitive out there, I think that I just got to keep on working on my, and I guess, and analyzing my stats and seeing like my short game. I always have to keep improving that. I mean, maybe get some more yardage off the tee box and hit my driver a little further. And, and like, I'm so grateful for the opportunities that I've had in the past to play with the pros. And so, like, comparing myself to them, maybe not while I'm playing the tournament, but when I, step off the course and comparing um, how they were versus I was out there, like learning from them, I guess, too, like seeing how the veterans out there, how they do it and how their games are.
Mm.
So,
What is the best word of advice that you've received about the game, and how did you use it?
Okay, so I've been going to my same swing coach for since I was like 9 years old. So we have had a lot of lessons and a lot of time to talk and discuss golf and my game and his game. And he's a great coach. His name's Rob Stworczyk. And I, he has given me such great advice throughout the years because he's a great player as well. And um, he's told me just to like take it all in because he's had to or he's experienced a lot of and played in some great tournaments and he's like Brooke, like try your absolute hardest to take it all in and learn from the experience, of course, but he's like the opportunities go so fast, so he's like live in the moment, and so that's always been a very great and piece of advice. And then he also has told me, he's like, for every day you miss practicing, it takes two to make up. And I'm like, oh gosh. So he told me that as like a 10-year-old, and I was like, okay, I can start practicing every day now. But no, yeah, yeah. But I don't know. He's given me so much advice that it's hard to think of one.
That makes sense. I really appreciate that you just, excuse me, you just mentioned the idea of missing days translates to more days to catch up. The one who always says that, and I'm like, oh my gosh, if he's saying it, it's probably true, is Bob Bowman, who was the swim coach for Michael Phelps. He always says that whenever he's on a podcast. And what's crazy is, I just heard the other day, it propelled Phelps to practice for every day between the Sydney Olympics and the Athens Olympics in 2000 and 2004. It's like, what? Like 4 years of every day? Like, that's just crazy. He's like,
Crazy.
yeah, even on Christmas, like we're in the pool. It's like, come on, man. Like that's unheard of. Oh my gosh. But there's something to be said about that, right? Of you have to keep going forward, whether it's a small incremental change. You just got to keep going forward. So I like that. How do you feel, Brooke, about doing a rapid fire segment before we get out of here?
Sure.
Awesome. Let's go. Okay, so this right here, folks, is Rolling Loud on the Rec Room. And it's episode 37. We've been doing this here little segment since episode 16 with Cami Miner, who I normally mention this, but today there's a very special reason. Cami Miner just signed with the Italian Top Volleyball League yesterday. Congratulations to Cami, and very thankful for the episode we did a few months ago. It was awesome. And she just reached her goal. So check that one off the ball. With that being said, Brooke, I've got to ask you, I got a couple questions for Rolling Loud on the Rec Room. The first thing is when you're out there training, okay, like you said, when you're on your own, it can get lonely, it can get quiet, it can get to a sullen place. Like, do you listen to music when you're training, when you're practicing at all, or for that matter, anything else, podcasts or anything like that?
Yeah, I do. Usually when I'm like hitting, I don't put music on, but like to listen to classic rock. And
Mm,
then I listen to a wide variety of music, but I like my dad's old school music the most, probably.
I love that. I love that. Um, if there is anything that you could snap your fingers and change about your golf game right now, what would it be?
I would say if I could make if I could like make everything inside 10 feet, boom, I'd do it. I think that would change like golf would be so nice if that could happen.
Mm, hmm hmm Um, being a part of something like the U.S. Women's Open, what was the thing that most surprised you about that atmosphere and that environment? Because I know I ask this because golf has been growing, it feels like, in a public space ever since COVID. And then additionally, like there's been a ton of growth to women's sports the last few years as well. So I've got to know, like, what was something that surprised you just about the crowd, about the environment, about the place you were at?
Yeah, I mean, first off, I was a touch surprised the two women I played with were extremely nice and supportive and helpful. So that was awesome just hearing them. And the one that was an LPGA tour winner. So, she was very nice and she was awesome. So that was not surprising, but a nice surprise, I guess. And then I guess I'd also be a touch surprised. I teed off really early one morning, and there was still like a big crowd ready to cheer on the girls that were teeing off early. So like being able to experience a crowd that big for a first time was awesome and a touch surprising just because usually the crowds come out later, I guess. So,
Hmm.
so yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely, absolutely. And then I've got two more things. Well, three more, kind of. Two and a half,
Okay.
we'll call it. If there is any word of advice that you could give to a younger player who's looking to get to the stages you've been at, what would that be?
Yeah, I'd say my biggest piece of advice is to try to play against the best in the world or country. I see a lot of junior golfers that are getting into it, and I love to see that. I think golf is such an amazing sport. Like, keep playing it, compete it whenever you can. But if you want to get, I think, to the next level, it's like get out of your state of Missouri or wherever you're from. Get out of there and try to go play in the best tournaments you can because I learned the most as a junior golfer when I would go play in California and I'd get beat by a lot of shots and I'd be like, okay, what are those girls doing different than I am? Not much, but they're just maybe thinking around the course a little more, doing this or that. So I would definitely say you know, try to go compete in the best tournaments you can. Get out of your comfort zone a little.
Yeah, I like the way you phrased that, of thinking around the course. I was reminded yesterday, obviously I've told you about my uncle. He instructed me to hit an iron shot off of this tee box, and we were like having a conversation, and he threw it in there. He was like, hit the 6 iron, and I was like, yeah, okay, that's a good idea. Like, I see that there's water down the left. Like, if I hook it as I've been doing, it'll probably end up in that creek. And so we keep having a conversation, and I get up to the box, and I have my driver in hand. And I'm like, wait, like, shouldn't I have hit the 6 iron? So I turn to him and I go, oh, I thought you said six, right? He's like, yeah, but hit your driver. I'm like, what? Like, you just told me adamantly to hit the six. I'm like, this is such a mental game. So I hit my driver and I carry that thing 285 down the center of the fairway, missed the creek. And he was like, see? He's like, you just had to think about the prospect of doing something else. And then now you're comfortable enough to make that swing because you had the
Hmm.
option to do it differently. And I was like, oh man, come on now. Teaching them.
Like,
Teaching them. It's just
that's
nuts. Bro,
awesome.
two more things, please. First off, is there anybody that you would like to give a shout out for and give appreciation to because of the way that your career has gone down to this point?
Yeah, I'd love to shout out my whole family, my mom and dad and sister. I mean, those three have been amazing. They've been so supportive through my entire career, golfing in life, but um, they're awesome, all three of them, and they will cheer me on through it all. A great day and an okay day, but they're always there and always there to pick me up and keep me going. And um, I'm so thankful for them. So thanks for
Mm,
asking because
yeah,
they need more spotlight. Yeah.
there we go. And then before we go here, Brooke, like you've had from where I sit, a phenomenal 2025. There's been a lot of highs and a lot of momentous occasions that have happened. not only on the course but off it. When you think about graduation, you think about these moves that you're doing. You think about, being able to have the opportunity to turn pro here coming up. You think about the tournaments that you've played in that you've done quite well in. Like, there's been a lot of stuff in 2025. Tell me, in order for 2025 to be complete, what needs to happen the next number of months to get to that point where you're sitting there saying, "Yeah, I'm good. I feel good about this."
Yeah, I'd say for sure, um, get through stage one of qualifying and like get status on the LPGA tour would for sure give me like I guess comfort and all that I've done. But um and for that, and then I'd also say more on like a personal level, like maybe moving into my own apartment or something. Not that I don't love living with my parents, but a little bit of independence again. But yeah, I'd say those two things. But really, just to me, sometimes it's not about, you know, winning and everything. It's about like the small wins and, you know, getting through state or Q school or at the Women's Western, making it to the, making it deep into the match play, so things that allow me to feel like there's been growth in
Hmm.
2025. I would love
Hmm.
to see growth, which I feel like I have, but even more growth I'm looking for.
Most certainly. Most certainly. Well, folks, that's been episode 37 of The Rec Room with Bryan Rector and today Brooke Biermann. Brooke, I appreciate your time because most certainly there has not been a lot of it to go around as of late, but a little bit more resting at home. Super excited to keep watching you on your journey and see how this thing unfolds. Very excited to hear about how Q School goes and about how you're getting into this next stage of your career. And I just appreciate it so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm glad we got to catch up finally.
Yeah. It's been super good. And folks out there, thank you for tuning in. Really appreciate it. And the Rec Room, it rolls on. Have a good day, everybody.